Okay, that's just good to go.
Okay, guys, welcome back to another podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the best team in the world currently. We're going to be looking at the backs. I've got Kyle on the channel once again. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yourself? How's the lockdown going?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Missing rugby probably partly one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast. And yeah, we both picked our teams. Some interesting picks you've picked. We'll get to them, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure. But guys, get involved in
Likewise for
the comments.
yourself.
Your team. Yep. Get involved in the comments. Your teams. We want to hear who you guys think. We're not like we don't know everything about rugby, obviously, but we want to hear your thoughts. Let's start with the fullbacks. So I personally have gone for Stuart Hogg. You've gone for Beauden Barrett. Do you want to put your case forward first of all?
Okie doke. This is probably coming from a place of slight resentment for Stuart Hogg's part because of those two errors he made in the Six Nations, which cost us very badly against Ireland and England. And also the fact that I think he's improved a bit. He improved after that, scored a great try against Italy and did very well in the match against France as well. I think he has improved a bit since going to Exeter, even though I thought of the World Cup. But it's really at the World Cup which separates them for me, because I thought at the World Cup Hogg looked very slow. His step didn't look like what it was, and he looked on like he put on a bit of weight as well at the World Cup. Whereas Beauden Barrett, I think moving to fullback has been a bit of a revelation for him. He's looks like he's under less pressure. He's got more time to assess the game than he does at 10. He's not, and the pressure's off him kicking the goals, and he's scanning, I think, a lot better at fullback. He's got more space to know when to come into the 10 channel, when to go out wide to run up to the line like you'd expect a fullback to do. His defence is very good as well. He had an iffy game in that semi-final against England, but that wasn't entirely his fault because he had hardly any ball that game. None of New Zealand did, but aside from that, I think he's probably the most complete fullback in world rugby right now. But so that's just what I think there. Albeit I understand. Is he back at 10 playing in the Super Rugby? He's at the Blues now, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Aye. I think he looks a lot freer at full back, and he looks a lot more. Not that he's a bad 10 at all. He's a brilliant, one of the best attacking 10s in the world. But I think at full back he looks a lot more freer, a lot less pressure on him, a lot more like he can read the game a lot better. That's my assessment. And you've gone for Stuart Hogg?
I have gone for Hoggy. I've backed your countryman. The reason I've done it is I think Beauden Barrett is a class 15. I think he is certainly up there in the top 3 in the world. And I think honourable mentions for the like of Halfpenny, Liam Williams on his day can play fullback really, really well. There's a lot of people we can shout out. But Hogg for me, because for Beauden Barrett, maybe it's a little bit easier for him because he's playing in such a class team. All over the pitch, there is class all over that team. For Scotland, Hogg seems to have to carry the team that little bit more. Although sometimes he likes to drop things a little bit more than Beauden Barrett, which we won't get into too much. I do think he carries the team that little bit more. I think attacking-wise, you do not want to kick the ball to him and give him space to run, because that is where he's most dangerous. In the free, in the open, gets the ball, runs, and it's something that I think he's one of the best in the world at. I think, as you said, going to Exeter has really helped him play in against top quality opposition every week. Although the Pro 14 is competitive, although being an Ospreys fan, can't say we've been competitive this season. But, it's not as competitive as the English Premiership, where you're playing in front of 15,000 nearly every week, and you're playing against quality internationals from all over the world. I just think Hogg has that a little bit more than Beauden Barrett. Maybe that comes with a bit more experience as well. I'm not against Beauden Barrett. I think he's a class player. But I do pretend I think he has more of an influence in the game, although maybe he doesn't get more time on the ball. I think he gets more of an influence on the game.
As I said, that's the thing that's impressed me about him, though, at 15, is he's been knowing to mix it up with Mwanga at 10, which I was one of the bits of the All Black World Cup I was impressed with, was the way they were mixing up the 10 and 15 really well, apart from the game against England, as I said, but that wasn't, again, because they hardly had any ball. It was very difficult for them to really have an impact on the game like that. But no, I think, so that's where I'd go for I think it's working well there. But I mean, I do understand where you're coming from with the 10 slot for Barrett.
Yeah.
I think especially in attack, he's got a lot more. I mean, whilst he's got less time, he's he picks lines very well, and he's probably the best attacking 10. But his overall game and controlling it is sometimes I think needs a little to be desired. His goal kicking as well has his off days, as we all know. So
I think with Hogg as well. I do think him being captain in this Six Nations, I don't think it really worked for Scotland and for him.
No,
I just think that where he is on the pitch, you want, if there's an issue at a breakdown, or there's like someone in the scrum doing something, you really want someone who's in one of those positions close to the action, able to say something to the ref very quickly. Hogg might be 40, 50 metres away from that incident, and I just felt like he maybe felt that burden, although apparently he did say that he wanted to be captain and he approached Gregor Townsend about it. But
I
don't think it worked.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. But I'm also hearing that it was a case of a meeting room, and he just Gregor Townsend just put a case of who wants to be captain. He just put his hand up and said, "Me." It was basically a case of you pick who the captain is. But no, I think I think actually he improved as the Six Nations went on in the early games as a captain. He's I mean, I'm still not wholly convinced by him yet because it's like you look at likes of Wales, who have an Alan Wynne-Jones, is just constantly going to be up there in the faces. Ireland, I was going to say Ireland with like a Rory Best of that, but even like Sexton is a leader on his day. I mean, it's not that he can't captain at fullback. I just think someone, like I said, who's a bit more close to the action more consistently might be a better shout. But I mean, I don't know Hamish Watson. I'm not sure he's captain material, but I think both basically on the same boat there. I'll give him. I would because they've gone down the road of picking him as captain, and he hasn't done anything apart from the two mistakes he made, which cost us against England and Ireland. I mean, but he did improve after that, and he hasn't done much after that to suggest he should be dropped. So I'd give him another year as captain, see how he goes, and see where we are next year. That's.
And I think as well, with the whole, we obviously watch a lot more Northern Hemisphere rugby. We see these players play a lot more often than those in the Southern Hemisphere because Super Rugby's on at silly times. They're up here for us. And obviously in the Southern Hemisphere, Pro 14 is kicking off like 3 a.m. So it can be really difficult to catch those games. But you know what? I'm going to jump over the fence. I'm going to join the Bowden Barrett camp.
Really?
I think we should put Bowden Barrett in at 15.
Fair enough. That's your decision, not mine.
So Bowden Barrett in at 15.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay, moving on to the wing. We've both gone with the same player, and I think most people will agree with us.
Yeah.
The man with the best sidestep in the world. Not ever. I think Shane Williams just about has it over him. As a Welshman, I think I can say that. Cheslin Colby.
Yeah.
Best winger in the world right now?
Yes, absolutely. Side steps, probably better than anyone right now. Got electric pace. He's really strong for a small man as well. He's you give him the ball, he's absolutely lightning. Showed it in the World Cup final. Showed it throughout the World Cup when he got the chance. I think that's where South Africa missed him in that semi-final. Which, even though they won the semi-final, I think him on the pitch might have given them that extra spark to go for counter-attacks a bit more. But no, I think definitely, without a doubt, the best side-stepper, best, quickest winger in the world right now, without a doubt. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, one of the best wingers in the world. Smashed it for South Africa at the World Cup. And at Toulouse as well, playing in a really exciting backline with Ntamak and Dupont, who we'll get onto a little bit later. As you said, pace. And what really amazed me at the World Cup, as you said, was his strength for such a small guy. He really puts his body on the line, doesn't he? Really puts him good in tackles, breaks out of tackles. And that step, I would get up to watch South Africa against, was it Namibia maybe? At like 4 a.m. just to see him step some Namibians. So it's just crazy. But he is just probably one of the best wingers in the world right now. And it's nice to see a winger who gets the ball first thought on his mind is, can I step this man? Can I beat this man? And really go for it. It's really nice to see that.
Yeah.
The only other person that I would say you could put in there, who we'll get onto later because you've picked him on one side, Johnny May can play in the number 14 shirt, can play in the number 11 shirt. He's worth a shout. I think Stockdale maybe a year ago could have been in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't think
Not
anymore.
Right now, no.
But I think Penaud, maybe from France, deserves a mention. He had a really good Six Nations for France. But yeah, Cheslin Colby, certainly the best winger in the world right now.
And with things with Colby, don't be surprised if in this year or going to the Lions in 2021, obviously assuming all this is still going ahead, there's a lot of things up in the air right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's moved to fullback going in the long run, Colby, because I think he's got all the skills and attribute. He's good under the high ball. Maybe a few question marks over his positional sense at fullback. I've seen him play a couple of times there for Toulouse, and positionally he could be a bit better, but still he's got a lot of he's certainly got the capabilities of it, and he's been playing at 10 for Toulouse this season as well. So for a wee man, he's got the whole package. You have to say.
The only question mark over him playing at fullback I would have is with the high balls. That's the only question I would have because of his height.
Well, the thing is,
I don't know.
The thing is, Lee Halfpenny's not that much taller than he is, and Halfpenny's probably the best under the high balls in the world on his day. So, I'd say, from what I've seen of him, he's solid under the high ball. I mean, in the international environment, it would be interesting to see how he'd cope with that a bit more. But no, I don't see why he can't, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does switch to fullback going forwards. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're both agreed on Colby. We're going to go on to the centres, and the first Welshman in the team, Jonathan Davis for me. But you've got two options that you've been thinking about.
I was going to go for Luca Hamo Pardon me if I can't pronounce.
South African.
Yeah, South African 13. Pardon me if I can't pronounce his surname poorly. But no, he was definitely one of the. I don't know if surprise package at the World Cup is the right word, but he was definitely underrated with his work rate and his abilities, and spotting what's in front of him. He had an excellent final, played a big role in Mapimpi's try in that final, and he was like I said, very solid in defence, spots attacks very well, knows when to interlink other players in, and as the third team, which I still stand by the opinion it's probably the hardest position to defend on the field, and he did that very well at the World Cup. So I've gone for him, but you've gone for the Fox, no surprisingly.
Yeah, I just think he's one of the best attacking centres in the world. I think he makes such a difference to us when he plays for Wales and for Scarlets as well. I think that he is a real leader on the pitch now, which is not something he used to be when he was a little bit younger. There are question marks, maybe a little bit about his defence now and again, but I find that the person who plays alongside him usually has more of a defensive role anyway, and so they can deal with that a little bit more. But obviously at Wales, we're still searching for that perfect centre. Hadley Parkes for me, who knows about him? But he's looking set to go to Japan, to join a team in Japan. So quitting international rugby, but Jonathan Davis for me, best centre in the world, attacking certainly, and has just grown with maturity, and he knows what to do on the pitch in the right places. I think his kicking game is really underrated. He's got a great left foot.
He's got a very good kicking game,
really well. I'm not against Am being in the team at all. I think he's a good player, but I don't feel he's been as consistent as Jonathan Davis over the past few years. I think Jonathan Davis has consistently, the past 5 years, been the best centre in the world.
That's a fair argument. Just because Am only really came into the Box team and up on the world stage a couple of years ago. Like he only really became a regular in Rasty Rasmus' team about a year and a bit ago. So I think that's a fair enough argument. The thing is with Jonathan Davis now, though, I think obviously he's injured just now. Probably be back in time for next season, but I think at the World Cup he was starting to slow down a little bit in some areas in his defence. I think this isn't just accountable to him; it's the whole Welsh defence. I think have struggled a bit since the new tackle laws and restrictions about high tackles and that. Which was evident in the World Cup. I mean, I don't want to say that's just with him. I always think that's the whole Welsh team have struggled a little bit to adapt with that. But no, I think, I mean, the 2017 Lions tour, definitely the best centre in the 3 tests, without a doubt. Then the following year and a bit after that, he was absolutely excellent, really developed into a proper leader in that Welsh team, as you said, both attack and in defence. I think he's a very good defensive captain as well. I mean, I know you say he's a bit iffy, but I think he's still solid up until like the tackle restrictions as I came in, as I say. But yeah, no, I'm rambling a bit. I'll give you Jonathan Davis then.
That's all right. Okay, so moving on to the next centre. Now, I was really stumped for the 12 shirt.
Yeah,
I was really, really struggling. But you did go for someone, and I couldn't really think of anyone else. So, do you want to explain who you went for?
Damien Delande, because he won the World Cup with South Africa, and he did, and he was he was probably the standout 12 in the tournament, I'd say. Really, strong ball carrier. Picks his lines very well. Knows when to be direct. Knows when to pass. Had a very good game against Wales when he got the ball. Had a very good match in the final against England. And I think the last year and a bit, he's established himself very well and improved a lot. I know there's a lot of South Africans who had doubts over him a few years back, and we're just wondering what he's doing in the team. But now he's really, in the past year or so, shown himself to be a really top inside centre. But I mean, I don't know. There's not that much that's really else that stand out to me. I don't want to say Owen Farrell because I'm still very dubious and think he's more of a 10 than a 12. So I don't want to put him into consideration. And New Zealand, they've been sort of like not really settled on a 12 in the past few years since Ma Nonu retired. So yeah, I think I'd have to go with Delande.
Yeah, it's difficult to pick someone, isn't it? It doesn't really feel to be someone who's standing out. Obviously, Farrell can play 12 and can play it really well. You know, he's one of the best tacklers in the world.
Without his arms, JPR would have been proud.
But there isn't really anyone who's standing with him. I don't think that there's anyone in Wales, Ireland, or Scotland who really challenge him, or in France either. I don't think Fiku's at that level at all either, or in Australia. I don't think. Maybe you could say like a Kudrani, is it, who plays for Australia?
Kudrani, he's more a 13 though.
So there's a few options, but it's difficult. There aren't really many options there. So Delande seems to be the obvious option. Won the World Cup, and I really enjoyed seeing the physical aspect of his game, really getting over the gain line, and really putting some big hits in. So I'm happy for him to be into the team.
I'll give a couple of mentions I was just going to say I'll give a couple of mentions to a couple of New Zealanders. Anton Leonard-Brown and Ryan Crotty. I think actually New Zealand missed a trick with Crotty. I mean, he can play 12 and 13. Not giving him more game time because I thought he was a good candidate to at least succeed Conrad Smith after 2015, and he had obviously had injuries and that, but they never fully settled him into the team. And at 12, again, Leonard-Brown I think's got a lot of talent, but they didn't really settle him into the team, and he's still, I think, lacking in strong leadership in a lot of things at 12, like the sort of stuff that Ma Nonu had that he's still missing, I think. But long term, Leonard-Brown's young enough; he could become the best 12 in the world, but time will tell there. We're going for Delande. I think we'll move on from there.
Yeah. So wingers, I've picked a Welshman. You've picked an Englishman.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone for Josh Adams. Personally, I think he's one of the best finishers in the world. He showed that during the Six Nations and during the World Cup as well, being the top scorer. I don't think he's technically as good as some of the other wingers we've talked about today, but I think just as a finisher, if you want someone to finish those tries for you, he's up there with the best. I think he's the best in the world. And I think defensively, he's underrated as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's maybe where Johnny May lacks a little bit, because you've gone for Johnny May, but Johnny May, one of the quickest guys in the game.
Yeah, no, I've just gone for him basically because you look at him where he was about 3-4 years ago, where Stuart Lancaster dropped him, Eddie Jones didn't pick him when he first came in, and then to where he has come in the past year and a half and a bit to the winger he is. He's just got most of the full package now. He's just such a deadly finisher, given space, great with the kick chase. Knows when to step. He's got great feet. I just love watching him as a rugby player, even though he's English. I just think he's brilliant. I will say though, I think with the work rate side, I think I have to give the edge to Josh Adams a bit, because what impressed me most about Adams is not just his finishing and his running, but he actually always looks to get involved. He's always looking for work. He's plays an extra flanker sometimes around the fringes, tries to make an impact when he can, away from his wing as well. And Johnny May, in that part of his game, he cuts inside sometimes, but he definitely doesn't do it as much as Adams. So I don't know. It just kind of depends what aspects of each player's game you're wanting to look at, really. So I mean, I've given the edge to May just because I think he's a better open field runner and better in the kick chase. A bit better in the kick chase, I should say.
Yeah. Well, as you say, in the open field, I think his try against New Zealand back in 2018, I think it was, where he runs from the halfway, runs all the way round and scores in the corner, maybe 2017.
It was 2014.
At Twickenham.
It was 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, we're getting old. That try was incredible, and just his ability, same as some of the other people we talked about, same as Hogg. If you kick the ball to him in a lot of space, his pace and his just ability to get around players. I think Josh Adams, maybe 10 to 15 metres out, is the guy you want, but maybe Johnny May, if you're 40 to 30 metres out, is the guy you want. I am biased because I am Welsh and I do like Josh Adams a lot. He's done it for Wales, but he hasn't done it at club level, while Johnny May is moving from Leicester back to Gloucester, and you say Gloucester are a better side than Leicester at the minute. So maybe there he will play better at club level than he has for Leicester, but to be honest, no one would play well for Leicester at the minute. But they've got new coaching and everything.
Well, Saris have saved them this season, so they're from getting relegated, so
exactly.
They're lucky there. But again, that's a tough one. I think because I think Josh Adams, he can do it from open field, but I think one of the things with Johnny May, why he wasn't getting picked for a while, was his defence and his kick chasing at times was a bit slow, a bit lazy. But now in the past couple of years, he's really improved that side of his game. He's probably the deadliest at a kick chaser. If there's any fullback or winger who's out of position or not looking after the ball properly in the kick chase, or the bounce goes against them, he's going to be snapping at their heels and is most likely going to end in a try. So, I mean, I'd just give the edge to May, but I mean, if you want to go with Josh Adams, I won't begrudge you that.
I think we got to stick with Josh Adams, just about. Only just very, very close. And it's not because I'm Welsh and Johnny May's English. It's got nothing to do with that at all. Okay, let's move on to the fly half. Lots of options here for me. 4 options that you could really look at. I'm really split between Beauden Barrett at 10 and Farrell. But then you put on the chart, you put Untamak on there, who I hadn't thought about. Pollard, who I hadn't thought about. There's so many options.
I've narrowed it down. I've gone with Pollard at 10 because, just at the World Cup, I thought he was so underrated for what he did at the World Cup for South Africa. His goal kicking, not just with his goal kicking, but the way he was controlling the play, the way he was keeping things calm. Even in the tight games against Wales, just the when like the pressure was on, he was still like kicking down the field or kicking the high balls or just keeping like things ticking over as is with the goal kicks as well, and just making sure that South Africa have a calm presence at half packs in a very tight game. And then the World Cup final, he obviously stepped it up a bit, kicked his goals, and kept England on the back foot. A lot of help when you're behind a pack that's dominating a game that much, of course. But I think he's been. I think he was just really solid. Very quality number 10 at the World Cup, and I think he's improved in the past couple of years of that as well. So I'm going to go with Pollard as the best 10 in the world right now.
Yeah, I can't really disagree all that much. I think Pollard is a class fly half. I think his understanding with Faf de Klerk on the pitch as well was very evident in the World Cup, and their understanding as a whole team. Everyone knew what they were doing, everyone knew their role, and did it really well. As you say, his game management is certainly up there, knowing when to kick the points, knowing when to carry the ball, knowing when to clear, to play for the territory, etc.
Yeah.
I went with Farrell. I went with Owen Farrell. Now, this is a tough decision because he hasn't played all that much 10 over the past couple of years for England, but he has regularly for Sarries, obviously. But for England, I think he's best at 10. I really do. Yeah. I think having Manu Tuilagi, Henry Slade maybe, and having Owen Farrell, that three is terrifying to come up against.
Yeah,
Tuilagi's got the physicality, Henry Slade can run around you, and Owen Farrell has got the physicality, he's got the skill, he's got the leadership, he understands the game, he can control everything from 10. Although they need to sort out the scrum half position, apart from that, I think that back, and Johnny May, and not sure you put out full-back at the minute, but that's a good back line for England. And I think that Farrell, he does need to learn how to tackle properly, and he will get there eventually after he stops paying the refs. But
he's only had 8 years, so
he'll get there. But no, I think he's such a leader, and we've seen that with what's happened with Sarries this season. Who knows how much the players knew about it? We don't know that, obviously. But he's come out and said he's going to stick with Sarries. He's taken a pay cut and everything. Leadership quality, how his goal kicking as well. I think his goal kicking under pressure at the Millennium Stadium when they're booing him and calling him everything under the sun, he still manages to kick his points so well. Did say though.
No, carry on.
Oh, you did mention a few other names. So we had George Ford, another Englishman in there. He didn't really cross my mind at all.
I don't know, like just because his performance. His performance against New Zealand in the World Cup semi-final kind of stood out to me. The way he took over the kicking duties from Farrell, but again, that's just one game really. I think I still think he's been decent for England as 10, but I don't know. Just the long term, I think England would be better off with Farrell, Tuilagi, and Slade. But we're all entitled to our own opinions there. But that's just I'm with you there. I think that as well. I'm still not wholly convinced with the 4 Farrell 10-12 against certain teams. Obviously works well against a team like Ireland, where their tactics are clearly to put a lot of pressure on them through a kicking game and trying to stretch them where they can. But no, I think I wouldn't go for Farrell. His leadership skills as well. I know you say you think he's a good leader. I'm questionable on that. I still think there's some games he goes through where he doesn't look like he enjoys captaining, along with the rest of the stuff he has to do with the goal kicking and kicking for positions and running the game. I'm still not wholly convinced there. I think going to 2023, I just don't think he's someone is a captain. But entitled to your opinion. If you think differently, that's absolutely fine. But I'm just not convinced with him yet as a captain at all.
There were 2 of the players you did mention. One of them, I think, is probably the best 10 to watch in the world, Finn Russell, on his day.
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate on your countryman?
Just the way, just his attacking instinct. It was the way he's been playing for Racing, and obviously the whole shenanigans with Gregor Townsend, which has now been said to be blown out of proportion. I don't really want to go into too much on that, but I just think with the way he's been playing for Racing this season, he should be a contender. And hopefully, I said, when the internationals kick off again, he'll be back in the Scotland shirt at 10, because I think we were missing him. Not that Adam Hastings is a bad player, but there's stuff Finn Russell does which Adam Hastings has still got a lot of learning to do. And I think if he wants the, and I think he could make a case for making the Lions next year. But yeah, who knows there? That's a long way away.
I think Finn Russell is a quality player going forward. His pass against England a few years ago for, who was it, Seymour, to go in. I think he is, honestly...
it was Hugh
Jones. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I just think, as you say, the way he's been playing for Racing, he just has so much freedom to play out there, and just the ability to really throw the ball about and show off a little bit. The one other person you did mention was Untermark. Had a really good start to the Six Nations, played decent in the World Cup. For me, I just don't think he's quite the level of the guys we're talking about, but he certainly could be there. With France hosting the World Cup in 2023, they've got a really exciting team. Mm-hmm. So do you want to say anything about Untermark? What do you think about him?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I was just throwing names out there. It's just, I think, narrowed down, and when I sent it to you, I didn't really have one narrowed down at the time. So, but no, I think he's obviously he's young. He's still learning. He's growing very fast. He looks for France, a nation well renowned for not ever having an out and out world class 10. I think he's the closest to that I've seen in a long time. Probably going as far back to the days as likes of Didier Camba-Ribeiro. I don't know if you, remember him. I mean, he was like the 10 before I was born, even so. But since probably back then, they've not really had any player you can class as an absolute out and out 10. I mean, they've had good playmakers, they've had good distributors, but they haven't had a 10 that actually controls the game and knows like when to kick, when to pass, when to get his forwards in the pod, how to control his backline and get them flatter, or to get him to drop a bit deeper. And Ntamack has shown, and it's the consistency he still needs to get, but he's shown signs he's actually doing that. I mean, that game against Wales in Cardiff, he was just looking so calm for most of that game. He was, he was knowing when to, get Dupont to give it to him, when to kick. He could read the interception well, of course, and he was knowing like how to get his backline and his forwards moving. And I think, as I said, it's a consistency thing. And the problem also for France, I think, in that is that Toulouse more or less play with Dupont and Holmes, is it, as 9-10 most of the time? And because last I read, Dupont and Ntamack had only played 3 times together for Toulouse. So I think that's something that they need to look into long term, to get them playing together on a regular basis. Because then, if they can get the consistency and they can keep going as they are, there could be a heck of a pairing at the next World Cup.
Yeah, I think Ntamack's a really exciting player. Very young though, and he does play a lot of 12 for Toulouse. Doesn't tend to play that much at 10 for them. But yeah, if they can get that, him and Dupont playing together regularly at club level, and then transfer that to France, that'd be incredible. And it's nice to see French rugby doing okay. I feel like the world has missed out on a decent France team for probably the past 10 years or more, at least.
Yeah, we outplayed them though, so I'm not like they've still got a bit of a way to go. But, knock Ntamack out in the first 5 minutes. Knock Ntamack out in the first 5 minutes, you're fine. I think we would have won regardless, because he missed a fairly routine shot at goal before he went off. But I think are we agreed on Pollard there then? Or?
Yeah, Pollard. Yeah.
Okay.
Pollard. Scrum half, known as being the most chatty ones on the pitch, or the gobbiest, you'd probably know as a ref. You can say what you think on that, but there's 2 names which really jump to mind for me. One South African and one is French. The South African is Faf de Klerk, the Frenchman is Dupont. Who gets the edge for you?
I before the Scotland France game, I would have said Dupont almost hands down, because I think he just was fantastic in those first three games. But I think the way Scotland managed to snuff him out, I mean, and show that when he's playing behind a pack that's under a lot of pressure and not getting quick ball, he looks still at time. I mean, it's difficult for all halfbacks then, but he still at times at that level looks a bit ponderous and a bit unsure. I mean, there was only a couple of times I remember against us where he actually had freedom to play and control the game like he does, and he was doing. I mean, I think with Dupont he's becoming the next Fabien Galtier, I have to say. Fabien Galtier when he was a player, of course. Only I think he's got better feet than Galtier did when he played. But his controlling of the game and his vision has just been brilliant. But when he's behind the pack, that's struggling a bit, not so much. And his defensive work rate as well, especially since Sean Edwards came in. I mean, he's been doing almost... it's kind of like... strange to describe. I would say like the Jamie Roberts role in captain in the defence, but it's because he's coming in from the scrum half, he's just shooting up quickly and then getting back to position. And for a scrum half to do that in the attack and defence, just unbelievable the work he's doing there. So with regards to de Klerk, I think I'd have to give the edge to him personally, just because he showed at the World Cup that under pressure, he can be a very cool customer. He knows like he's got a good technique and good balance with his kicking and his passing, and his box kicks as well were really good for the most part. And he's just I think he's the best 9 in the world right now, and he showed at the World Cup final. Again, always helpful for a scrum half when you've got a pack that's so on top. But I mean, you've still got to control the game. You've still got to have the vision to scan, know when to kick, when to give it out to your 10, and what the right plays are. And I think Faf de Klerk's done that brilliantly in the past year or so. So I'm just giving the nod to de Klerk. What do you think?
Yeah, both players are the standout scrum halves in the world. Maybe you could have said something about Alan Smith a couple of years ago, and maybe you could have said the same about Gareth Davis a couple of years ago, Conor Murray as well. But it seems like these two are really standout ones. Dupont, attacking-wise, the feet and just the ability to spot an opportunity. But as you said, when they got slow ball or there isn't much on, it does look like he's struggling to really create something or think of what to do. Maybe that just comes with experience. Sometimes just knowing what to do, knowing whether to look for the territory or whatever.
I mean,
de Klerk.
I was just going to say, don't get me wrong. He's not. I don't think he's necessarily bad at it. He's just, sort of still clearly international rugby, learning a bit more. And for any, as we all know, basic rugby, for any halfback, if your pack's not producing a good ball for you, you're not going to be able to control the game. And but you still have that ability to at least like know what to do, whether it's just to get over the gain line or whether to put a box kick in on slow ball. And Dupont, I think, still is. This will come with experience. I think is still working out that balance a bit under pressure. But when he's got a pack on the front foot, he's absolutely brilliant. And in defence as well, as the first up defender, he's been excellent as well. Can't fault him there.
Yeah, and de Klerk. Then the interesting thing about him is I love his work ethic, like Dupont. But I think just. He doesn't care how big that forward is. He's going to get him down.
Yeah.
And that is really impressive to see. The way he commanded his forwards in the World Cup when South Africa were driving ball, he commanded them. He said, right, this is my ball and I'm taking it now. Yeah. And just the way that he led that defence, but also the attack, the aggression. He's like a little Yorkshire Terrier who won't shut up. It's annoying as anything. But he's so integral to that team. For Sale as well, he came in and did a really good job for them. I think we've got to go with de Klerk for this. Just de Klerk against that experience as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think his World Cup semi-final performance against Wales as well, like because that game was a very tip-top game. There was no team that was especially on top until the very end. South Africa got the edge. But the way he controlled things under pressure as well, I think has to put him up there as the best 9 right now. So yeah, we'll go with de Klerk.
Okay, cool. So the team is Bowden Barrett. We've got Cheslin Colby, Jonathan Davis, Delande, Josh Adams, Pollard, and Faf de Klerk. Let us know in the comments down below your teams. Are we stupid or are we right? I like to think I'm right, but most of the time I'm not. But we will be back to do the forwards as well, which may be a little bit trickier, but we will definitely get into it. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again.
Take care, guys.
There you go.
Okay.